Good.
We're on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've got 6:59. Call it 7 o'clock.
Does anybody know what Mr. Travellini's doing for the game?
That's right. That's right. Welcome to the Township of Bedminster. This is the regular meeting of the Township Committee for January 13th, 2020, and we will recognize a full complement of Township Committee, including newly sworn-in Committee Woman Gina Lisa Fernandez. Welcome, Gina, to your second Township Committee meeting.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and the Burnsville News in Whippany to all subscribers, and then posted here at the Municipal Building as of December 3rd, 2019.
Great, thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was tough. We have 5 minutes to approve. Any comments to the minutes that have not otherwise been provided to Ms. Sullivan?
Just a small adjustment on the 16th with the typo. Mr. Hickey notified me of earlier today. It's been corrected.
Seeing no other comments, may we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just a note, I was not at the December 27th.
So noted. Permits and raffles. We have 2 permits and raffles for tonight. First is an off-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit Pottersville Volunteer Fire Company on July 23, 2020 at Pottersville Volunteer Fire Company Antique Show. And the second is a special use permit, Conquest Corporation, June 29, 2020 through July 2, 2020, from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. to complete resurfacing operation, nighttime paving of the I-78 ramps from and to Rattlesnake Bridge Road as discussed at the November 13, 2019 meeting with Bedminster Township. Any questions or comments regarding either the raffle or the permit?
Nope.
Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Public comments, opportunity for public comments. There's no one from the public right now, so we will move on to monthly report discussions by subcommittee chair, and we will start. Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no updates. My meetings will be scheduled for this coming week, so I'll have something for you next week, or next time.
Committeeman Hickey.
Mayor, thank you. Good evening. I'm in the same situation. We have rec scheduled for January 21st, our first meeting of the year. Our Ag Committee meeting is tomorrow. I'm sure, Mayor, you may be speaking about that. We've got library on Wednesday. Board of Health was scheduled for Thursday, but has been canceled because we have no pending applications. And I guess we have our first informal meeting of our Public Utilities Committee on Friday because we have a meeting between JCP&L, Chief, and our OEM Director. So we'll report out on that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Great. Committeewoman Moreski.
Same situation, Mayor. We have our first Environmental Commission meeting, January 15th, this coming Wednesday. And the JBH meeting was supposed to be the same night, but they postponed it till the 22nd. So at our next meeting, I'll have something for you.
Okay, great. Committeewoman Fernandez.
The first rec committee meeting is scheduled for January 21st. I'll have an update at that time.
Okay, great. So there was a meeting last week of the Land Use Board. What was approved was a variance for a house on Cedar Ridge Road. It's a small house that is came in for a second floor. It's really not a second floor addition. It's just taking what is a shed roof and converting it to a full second floor. Consensus was that was certainly a variance worthy application. If anyone knows it, it's a small house. It's probably been in not in keeping with the neighbors, and good application and approved. One thing that we'll talk about from Land Use Board is, and this also certainly overlaps with Township Committee as well. Everyone may remember when Somerset County came in and made the presentation about the planning the priority, I'm sorry, not the planning, priority investment growth areas. And there was a presentation on the AT&T campus and some of the surrounding neighborhoods, and that was identified by the county and its consultants as an area where planning could incentivize some increased use of that property, or identified it as sensitive and could bolster that property. Following that presentation, we worked with Somerset County to apply for a grant, and at the end of 2019, they received notice from the Highlands that a $50,000 planning grant was awarded to Somerset County specifically for that property and to develop planning options for that property. So earlier, let's say, I guess it was last week, I had a meeting with Walter Lane from Somerset County, who's the, I'm sorry, Somerset County Planning Director, Walter Lane, and we ran through the logistics and the schedule for getting that planning exercise in place. It'll more than likely, it won't be until March or April that a planning consultant has been retained, but in the meantime, there will be certain steps that the county works through in selecting and going through planning consultants. We will be working with the county as that develops, as they prepare the RFP. To planners, we'll be working with them, and then we'll be working with them in the selection of planning consultants when that comes through. Certainly, the AT&T property is something that is particularly significant to us in Bedminster, both as a rateable and as a sort of employment for a number of our residents. So we'll be working with the county, and when the time is right, working with AT&T and MetLife and other stakeholders on planning options for that site. And as just consistent with everyone else, the rest of subcommittee meetings will be forthcoming, and we'll be talking about them in subsequent meetings. Ms. Sullivan, the administrator's report, please.
Yes, sir. Number one, we have a video presentation system that's been requested primarily from the police department and court to assist with presentation of arrest videos and the like in the court. The current system we have, well, we don't have a system. When we need something, the police have to carry something over from the police department. So we did have the vendor that put together our video system, recording system and sound system in this room, did give us a proposal. They actually gave us, you have it in your, under your reports tab in your binder. They gave us 3 options, one being an LED projector and ceiling mount, just for the projector only, and it would project onto the screen that comes down out of the ceiling behind Chief Rock. Option 2 is for both a projector and a 70-inch monitor and a cantilever mount that could be on one of our walls. The suggestion being so that people in the back of the room for any kind of a presentation or map or video who are sitting towards the front of the room can see it in the back of the room. Where that monitor might go, yet to be determined. Could be on a wall, could be, but it would be on an arm that it could move out. And the third option is just for the monitor only. So we're just looking so we can move forward with the project. The monies that would be needed. There's also a laptop that's required. We would purchase the laptop ourselves. We have a state contract to do a laptop. If the vendor did that, it would just be marked up, so we would do the laptop ourselves. The monies to purchase, we have $10,000 in a court capital account, and we have a little over $3,700 in our communications grant. So we were going to split the cost between the court and the communications grant.
Would that just be our portion of it? Would we be looking to have our shared court towns that participate help in the cost of that, or?
Well, so the capital account is funded from the 3 towns.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have $10,000 in a capital account that's been supplied by the 3 towns.
And so the System 2, which is the monitor, or maybe that's actually, it's System 2. So that's the projector and the monitor?
Yes,
So the projector would be the screen, just,
So we would use the projector onto the screen, and then they would also install a monitor on one of the walls.
Okay.
Probably they're suggesting off the opposite wall over on this side. And then the laptop that would help run everything is about a $600 purchase that we would do state contract.
okay. So at what point is there a decision being made? Does it
Well,
require
that's what we're hoping to
TC?
do tonight,
Oh, okay.
to give us some direction as to how you'd like to move forward.
My recommendation would be to do System 2 because I think it gives you the most versatility, as well as the fact that for your other meetings, Environmental Commission, Land Use Board, et cetera, where you may have an audience, right now it's very difficult to see the presentation unless you're sitting in some of the front rows. So if you had a cantilevered, LED screen mounted on the wall, turn it out to the audience, so therefore both folks on the dais as well as folks in the audience can see what's being presented. It probably gives you the most versatility long term.
Comments, questions?
Makes sense to me.
Just wiring-wise, how does that work?
So my assumption is you're going to run cabling back to your closet right there. So I think when they did the site survey originally, the vendor felt they could actually run the wiring. They would not have to go necessarily
Yeah, they
underneath
weren't
the
going to go
conduit.
below, they were going
Right,
to go above.
over the top.
The wiring is is it going to be a Bluetooth monitor, or are we talking
So you can do
cables?
You can do Bluetooth, but it's also going to be hardwired into the overall system so that everything simultaneously projects. So you have a bunch of options in terms of when you want to interface with the system itself.
And
Right.
for electricity, so there's electricity sources?
You would have to run power into that wall, but that's not too hard. You'd obviously have to pull power from above to power the projector that would then project onto that screen.
And that's not part of the quotation at this point.
I think that would be, I think that's additional electrical work that we need to
Well,
be
they're
done.
saying an all installation is included in that price.
I mean, they're charging $3,000.
On System 2, that's $3,000.
That's $3,000, it should
Right.
include wires.
And whatever, permitting?
That includes the installation, yes.
Okay.
I
What's
find
that?
that hard to believe, but okay. I don't think they're thinking electric.
When you say installation, they mean probably bolting the arm of the TV to the wall, not hooking it up.
So you're thinking running the actual conduit, the actual wiring is not in, you're thinking it's not included. The high voltage, not the low voltage.
Under the note, it says what's included in the installation. HDMI to Cat 6.
Yeah, that's all the low voltage stuff, right. Well, why don't we get a clarification of what would be electrician's expense for actually running if there's additional expense to run that wiring?
We're looking at about $500.
That's what I'm thinking, it's probably between $500 and $1,000, depending on how complicated it gets in those walls.
So this is not a resolution, but this is just
No,
an
no,
indication of
it's just-
support.
Right.
So
Right.
if between John's comments, Colin's comments, Gina's expertise, if we agree that the electrical is going to be under
Call it 1,000?
1,000, are we prepared to move forward with the System 2 option?
Do we have the money for the extra $1,000?
So, grand total, we have a little over $13,000, grand total. If we're gonna split it, we have $3,700 in the communication grant, and like I said, $10,000 in the capital ordinance. More than enough.
Right. So if we're ballparking around $8,000, what's our share then? I mean,
Right.
we've got, what is that, 30 or 40% share?
Well, the $10,000 ordinance is from 2019, it's already in place.
But I'm saying in terms of our share, if we assume 7,154 plus ballpark, round up to 8,000 for AC work,
Okay.
electrical work. So it's $8,000. What's our share from a Bedminster perspective?
Well, it depends, if you're gonna split it between us and the court.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So-
So we only have a portion.
We only, right, so we would take, so we eat
It would be more
30%?
than 3,700 that we'd be spending.
There you go. Okay.
Look, I think it's technology we need, and it certainly brings us up to speed with the needs of the users, so it's something we should be looking at, and I agree that
Well,
it
for
makes sense to
example,
have
the
a...
Environmental Commission has a program coming up with Brian Zerati in February, and Dawn March reached out to me, how do we do that? Now, we'll have to bring in, a projector and a laptop and get everything set up, but if we didn't have that, we could just pull down the screen and boom, it's ready to go.
Right.
But primarily, just to be clear, primarily this is being driven by the court.
Primarily, it's the police department and the court that, right now, they don't have something that works well. They have to, the chief has to have police officers bringing over equipment from the police station to make it, to run it in the courtroom
Okay.
on a court day.
You're just running off DVDs these days, right? I think.
Most of it, yeah, but
Yeah.
then there's other technology out there now where it's cloud-based. You could, zip it to a external drive and snap it in, so.
Right, right.
You could,
That's the other problem we're having right now is the equipment we currently have, the projector is so old, you really can't even interface to a current laptop because there's no HDMI interface. So you can't even plug and play as it is. So we really, that was probably purchased 7, 8, 9.
We did get a newer one recently donated to us. It's a little better, but not much.
Every time somebody tries to plug in there, it doesn't work.
Yeah, we had trouble at Moth Night.
Right,
He couldn't
right.
use his stuff.
Right. Everybody has that problem.
That's right. We had to find the
Yeah.
connector, so we actually
we
went through
did have
our
a
old
newer
stuff
model
and we
that
found,
is
right.
cheaper.
Exactly.
Right.
We've been having that problem more and more. We're out of date now.
So the technology that we're getting is not just good for our current, but actually where we see everything going, which is, I would assume would be wireless.
Wireless, and as Chief said, cloud-based stuff where you can just download it to a laptop and then boom, it's right
And then
there.
project and then Bluetooth from the laptop to the projector and to the monitor.
However you want to do it. You can hardwire, you can Bluetooth, you can talk 8 ways to Sunday with the
And
new
then we
stuff.
already have a maintenance contract that we have for the whole system. We would just add that into it and would make the maintenance contract slightly more, but it'll cover the whole system.
And I like the fact that the folks doing this install are familiar with the existing system,
Right.
integrate everything in,
Right.
so it should be plug and play.
Okay, so consensus from the committee? System 2, projector onto the existing screen.
Correct.
So new projector and a monitor,
And are we okay with?
Presumably
this
going over
wall
there.
Over here?
Should be opposite, right?
Right.
It was their suggestion to do it on the opposite wall from where you're showing.
John?
Put someplace up here so everybody can see it. You're gonna lose people way in the back.
Well, if it cantilevers out,
Swing it out.
We should probably have a discussion, come up with a plan. Make sure that the thing's gonna be not intruding on everything else that we do here, court and everything else, because there's a lot of activity with court, people coming back and forth on this side, so understanding,
yeah, it would set back the-
but that means that somebody would have to move the thing back and forth, so. Rather would have something that's semi-permanent in a location that's not easily accessible to the general public.
Congratulations, John, you're on the team of figuring it out now.
Well, that would be John and Doug. That would be facilities
Yes,
management.
Yes.
So,
Welcome to 2020.
again, System 2, do it, not a resolution, but all in favor of proceeding with System 2, please give me an aye.
Aye.
Okay, and John and Doug will figure out placement.
okay.
All right.
My pleasure, Mayor.
Moving on, our Municipal Excess Liability Joint Insurance Fund, of which we are a member, the MELGIF, has introduced a cyber risk management program. They put it out to all our members, and they had a minimum set of requirements to put us in compliance, and there was in both a Tier 1 and Tier 2 level. And I'm proud to report Bedminster is been accepted both Tier 1 and Tier 2. So that means if there is a claim with a cyber risk, with a cyber attack, there's $7,500 that we would normally have in a deductible that would be returned to us because we had that first level of compliance. Doesn't mean we're exempt, doesn't mean we're, Nothing's ever going to happen, but we've taken certain measures that they require us to take, and it's all been done. So I'm happy to report that.
And Judy, kudos, because I mean, you've been pushing a lot of that work, Vashon has been pushing a lot of that work,
It took
we've
the
all,
better part of 2019 to get it all done. If you
Right.
look at the list that's in your packet, you can see the other members of our GIF that have not complied yet.
right.
So,
There's a lot of work that's gone on
yeah,
behind the
we're on the
scenes.
short list, which I'm very proud of that.
Right, agreed.
The chief has been working diligently on the submission of our FEMA grant for the POTUS security in 2019. Actually, it was October 2018 to August 2019. We are waiting for the final approval of everything to go through for the payment to be electronically submitted to Bedminster, but we anticipate that like within the next, I don't know, week or two, we hope. It has been approved, and you can see the number there, over $41,000 that's been approved for reimbursement.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for your hard work on filling out all those forms and
Lots of
coordinating with
forms,
the
Lots of
feds.
paperwork.
Love it.
And this Thursday at 3 o'clock, we're going to be having a conference call with the Transportation Bank Financing Program. It's a funding program that is funds local aid. In other words, we get local aid grants from the Department of Transportation, but that's usually for larger thoroughfares that connect larger transportation areas, larger roadways. Our side roads, and we can all name a few, I'm sure, that need some help, never qualify for this grant money. So when I went to this program last Monday, I said, look, you know, Bedminster has a lot of dirt roads, but we also have a lot of side roads that aren't getting paved, and it's, you know, it costs a lot of money for a small town. They said because we are in what's considered a rural area, one of the few in Somerset County, there's only two areas in Somerset County that qualify. The Bedminster, Peapack, Far Hills area is one of them. We would be given priority for this funding if we submit an application. So we're going to be having a conference call on Thursday to hear more about the program, but it is, part of it is grant funded and part of it is an actual loan, but overall it's about between 1% and 2% in interest over the term of the loan. So we're going to pursue it and see if we'd like to move forward.
Right, we will, we're going to be participating on that conference call to see what the, what any catches, if there are any catches associated with the program.
Yeah, it's almost
Just as we are well familiar with in town, sometimes some of these grant programs come with little hidden hooks that make what might otherwise seem an economic gift.
So we're going to hear about
turns
that.
into the opposite. So we've got some pointed questions for these guys on Thursday, and if this is something that is viable, then certainly as the Facilities Management Committee meets to talk
Yeah.
about paving management, especially as we move into budget session, is something that we may be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, our CFO today, she reached out to our auditor and our bond counsel just to make sure what's their familiarity with these types of programs, what are the questions we should be asking, does this impact anything for the town, for other things, so just so we're fully ready to have that conference call on Thursday.
Okay, great.
And then lastly, a couple people already asked me tonight, budget meetings. Our first budget meeting is Monday, January 27th, and then every other Monday after that until March. We hope to introduce the budget on March 16th. So we'll see how we do it.
Great.
That's all I have.
Discussion on introduced ordinances, we have none. Introduction of ordinances, we have none. Public hearing of ordinances, we have none. Consent agenda, we have one resolution on the consent agenda. Unless anyone has a request to remove that item from the consent agenda, may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Lisa Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
For the bill list, may we have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices?
So moved.
Second?
Again, roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Lisa, I'm just going to say Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
And Gina, is there a preference? Is it Lisa Fernandez or
No,
Fernandez?
Fernandez is fine.
Fernandez is fine.
That's easier for
That's
me. Thank
official.
you.
Okay. Discussion items. Any matters that the Township Committee wants to put up for discussion? Seeing none. New business. Any new business items that the Township Committee wants to put up? Nope. Old business. We will go back to some of our oldies and goodies. We'll start with short-term rentals. Committee Stevenson and Attorney Bellardo.
I gave Mr. Bellardo a report that I got from the court today regarding some of the matters with Putnam Park. So that's another matter that's on the short term.
They paid.
Yes, they did.
They did, okay.
Nothing on short-term rentals, Mayor. I haven't heard of any ongoing violations or court cases.
Okay. And Judy, do we still have someone who's checking Airbnb and VRBO and the other?
Yes, absolutely.
And what are they saying for Bedminster?
Nothing current that we've seen that we're not already aware of. The most recent one being the Lionel Bell issue, so.
Okay. But in the past, we had upwards of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There was a resident or two that would call us weekly with updates. We haven't had any reports in a while.
Okay. All right. Engine braking.
Only thing I would say on that is that we have on our street noticed a little bit of an uptick in the engine braking between our last meeting in here, or not reorg, but the last meeting in these chambers in here. Just wanted to mention that. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it as well. I don't know whether Jeannie's seen it on the
Yeah, I have
board or
noticed it a little bit more, even during the day, which you don't usually get because there's usually traffic there. But.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if this is a product that we talked about during the fall of, the leaves come off the trees and sound carries a little bit more, so I don't know if it's happening more often and we're just hearing it now because we've got no leaves, but we've noticed a little bit of a bump in that.
Yeah, I will say over this last weekend, we almost never really hear it from our house, but we heard it over this weekend, and there was a few instances where trucks were using engine braking, and I presume it was at the Lamington intersection. We've talked about whether or not, who would be enforcing this. Is this police? Is this zoning? Perhaps. Chief, are you aware of any other towns where the police enforce the noise violations?
I'm not.
Okay.
Is a sign back? I know it was moved for
The
another.
sign was moved for an investigation, and then the weather changed. We were supposed to have an ice storm, and then now, it's hard to get up there because that's a soft island. So, my fear is that we stack it there, and then we get a major snowstorm, and then we need the sign for something else, and we can't get off the island. So,
Well, we haven't had that issue yet. It was up for the entire last year, including some significant storm events.
okay, we'll go up there and four-wheel in.
Okay.
See if we get any difference next time we meet, right? But it might be anecdotal, but it seems to work when it's there. Maybe it's just a gentle reminder.
Pluckman Park. So as Ms. Sullivan indicated, Attorney Bellardo and I were discussing over the last week whether Pluckman Park ever did pay the fines that were assessed against it and resolved through the court, and they did pay.
They did. Ms. Sullivan has provided me court receipts indicating that the fine on each complaint of $230.77 and court costs of $33 for a total amount of $3,429.01 was paid on October 29th of last year.
And are we aware of any further activity going on? Have they pulled permits for anything, for any of the improvements?
I'm not aware of permits. I know there were a few, I'll say, not necessarily complaints, but issues. We were notified. Residents had given us a call, and our zoning official has been in contact with the property manager over there, who's been pretty cooperative. So, nothing that we can write a violation or get permits for.
Okay.
Minor things.
Well, let's keep Pluckman Park on old business so that we, just in case those incidents do amount to something a little more significant, that we still have it up here for discussion. And on the last issue, JCP&L outages,
Mayor, I've been in contact with Carol Bianchi, our representative, and we'll look to have her come in over the course of the next month and do another public presentation and give us an update on their outage numbers and some of the actions they've been taking proactively to prevent future outages. So more to follow.
Right, which brings us to the second round of public comments. So once again, the lectern is open and the microphone is available for public comments. Seeing none, we will move to Township Committee comments, and we will start with Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to very briefly say again, welcome to Gina, official welcome here in Chambers. I thought that the reorg meeting was fantastic. Again, a shout out to Judy and your team. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job setting that up. It was a great night. It was a great night. It was a great venue. Great time had by all. And I just wanted to follow up with my words to the folks that were there, and I was talking about all the great job that Colin had done with the 5Js, as we call them, and communicating with JCP&L on that issue, and I had neglected to mention, of course, Carol Bianchi, who was there. So I sent her a note after the fact, apologizing for not mentioning her, thanking her for everything she's doing for us.
Did you make that in the dark when the power was out at your house?
No, my computer wouldn't work in the dark without power. But no, I mean, I just wanted to, extend my thanks to her because she really has been very receptive, and we couldn't ask for a better community liaison, someone who lives in the Somerset Hills area, someone who's familiar with what we do, being a former mayor, and just wanted to make sure that I gave a shout out to her and thank her for everything she's done.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, good evening. Gina, again, welcome.
Thank you.
Mayor, last year, closing your comments, we were talking about the fact that you had really impressed on all of us at the beginning of the last year how you wanted the committees just to engage with all the committees and make sure they were working actively on projects. And the fruits of our labor are being borne out in multiple ways in terms of the engagement we're having with the community on a variety of issues, JCP&L being one, but there are others. Pluckman Park, as we were just talking about, and I'm excited because we're busy. And there's a lot of stuff on our docket now. And we're all going to be very busy this year, and I think that's great because we're advocating on behalf of our constituents, and I think really moving the ball forward on a lot of different areas. So we owe that to your leadership in terms of pushing that forward, and I look forward to getting busy this year. So thank you.
Thank you. Committeewoman Moreski.
And as happened at Fiddler's Elbow, those two stole my thunder. But I will just repeat, I want to express my appreciation for everybody who made the reorg meeting such a great night, especially Judy and Robin. Big thank you to Fiddler's Elbow for hosting us in that beautiful room with such a great staff. And it's always inspiring to see how the people of Bedminster come together to share ideas about how we keep our town moving in the right direction. Congratulations to Gina and to Doug. So happy you're here. And I'm looking forward to working with you guys on all our 2020 programs. And lastly, Larry, congratulations.
Thank you.
With your leadership, we're certain to keep Bedminster on the path of fiscal responsibility and environmental well-being.
Thank you. Committeewoman Fernandez.
So I just wanted to thank everyone for being so welcoming. I agree. I want to piggyback on what Doug said. The reorganization dinner was a huge success, so thank you to Judy and Robin for organizing that. And it was really nice to see the whole community out and, gathering together as we move forward. And I agree. I'm looking forward to a busy 2020 here on the Township Committee. So thank you all again. And congratulations, Larry.
Thank you.
Mayor Jacobs.
So, just as Judy mentioned, we did make the front page of the Burnsville News. So here it is. So all of us with some of the former committee members and mayors, the unveiling of the 1749 Bedminster Charter. So if anyone hasn't had the opportunity to see it, here's the article.
My nose made it.
We're in color.
I did have to look for you. And there's something I do want to follow up, and it's actually something we mentioned about Pluckman Park, and I do want to, and I failed to mention it actually at the reorg, which is when we were recounting the achievements of what happened over this last year, one of the things that I neglected to mention is the efforts that went into looking at the folks and the problems at Pluckman Park. And I want to give a special shout out to Committeeman Stevenson. This is something that, was sort of impressed upon Renee and I during our last campaign, and we worked with the residents and try to bring them together and get the legal counsel and look at the issues. And then Doug really picked it up from that point on, and working with our own staff here to make sure that the enforcement was appropriate and that the matter was brought to successful resolution. So Doug, I want to thank you again for that. And, I think what we see from the residents there, the improvements that were made, it's not over, right? There's still improvements that could be done there, but we hit the main issues that were certainly of critical importance to those residents. And, we had residents who were not ready to take some of the steps themselves. And this is where government can fit in, right? So we can be proactive, we can implement change where it's appropriate. And, I think Pluckman Park was an example of that. So I do, once again, want to give recognition to Doug and to everyone else who worked on seeing that through. So thank you all. That is it for Township Committee comments. We do have an executive session. We have a number of items on for executive session. However, we will not be taking any formal action when we return to open session. So having said that, may we have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will see you when we come back.
Did anybody respond to you about this whole thing?
Okay, we're on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock. We are back from executive session, and as I indicated earlier, we are taking no formal action following our executive session meeting. Having said that, may we have a motion to adjourn? I'm going to reserve that motion to Gina.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
Well done.
Right. Enjoy the game tonight.